Have you ever felt like you've done too much for God to use you? Not just a mistake. I'm talking about the kind of season where you knew better and you still did it. And now there's this quiet belief in the back of your mind that says, I think I disqualified myself. Like maybe God forgave you, but he won't use you. If that's you, I need you to hear me clearly today. That is not the voice of God. Hey friend, I'm Stephanie, owner of Balam Aesthetics in Magnolia, Texas. I specialize in non-invasive anti-aging treatments for women in midlife. But what I've built is so much more than skincare. This space and this podcast are about healing, truth, and walking in what God has called you to do, no matter what your past looks like. Because I've had my own seasons where I felt disqualified, and yet God still called me. So today we're going to walk through Moses, Aaron, and David, and I want you to really see something. God has never used perfect people, not once. Now, let's really sit in Moses for a minute, because his struggle wasn't just fear, it was identity. He grew up between two worlds, Hebrew by birth, Egyptian by upbringing. And when he tried to step into who he thought he was supposed to be, he was rejected. Who do you think you are? That kind of a statement doesn't just pass by. It sticks. Those things stick with us. It settles in places that you don't even realize. And it starts shaping how you see yourself. So now fast forward, God calls Moses. And Moses doesn't ask him, like, how do I do this? He asks, who am I? Now, have you ever had someone say something to you and years later, it still shows up? You're not good enough. You'll never be able to do that. You're too much. You're not enough. And now here you are, loving God, but still questioning if you're the one he would actually use. That's Moses. And instead of fixing Moses' confidence, God says, I will be with you. That's it. This is never about Moses being enough on his own. Some of you aren't struggling with calling. You're struggling with what you've believed about yourself. And I'm just going to put myself in that category of someone, some of you. I am that someone. I am that some of you. Now, Aaron, this one hits a little bit different because Aaron knew God and he had seen miracles and he walked alongside Moses. And yet when the pressure came, he folded. The people got loud. They got impatient. They wanted something now. And instead of standing firm, Aaron chose approval over obedience. Happens a lot. I'm sure a lot of us could relate to that as well. Not that you didn't know what was right, but in that moment, you didn't want conflict, you didn't want to stand out, and you didn't want to upset anyone. So you stayed quiet, or you went along with it, or you justified it enough to make it feel okay. That's how compromise happens. Not overnight, but in small moments where we choose comfort over conviction. And yet God still used Aaron. But here's the part we don't skip. Aaron couldn't stay the same, right? God will meet you where you are, but he will not leave you there. Now let's talk about the tabernacle because this matters more than people realize. This was not just a tent, okay? And I am just recently learning about the tabernacle. I didn't know anything about it. I'm doing a Bible study on Tuesday nights, and then I've just been doing a little extra study on the side at home. It's very interesting, very intriguing. So much that went into this. And this was a picture of how you approach God, right? Like there was order, there was preparation, there was lots of preparation. There was intentionality. You don't just walk into God's presence however you felt like it. Because God is holy, right? Now let's bring this into real life. How often do we treat God casually? I'll pray when I have time. I'll read my Bible later. I'll get serious about my relationship with Him eventually. But we don't really prioritize Him. The Tabernacle shows us something. Access to God has always required intention. Not perfection, but intention. And Aaron, the imperfect one, was still allowed in. But he had to come God's way, right? He couldn't just come in. It had to be, there was a strict line of rules and things that had to be done before he could come in. You don't have to be perfect to come to God. But you do have to come His way and not your own. And when Jesus came, everything changed. The barrier between us and God was removed. The veil was torn. Access is no longer restricted. But yet so many of us still live like it is. So be honest, do you hesitate before going to God after you've messed up? I'll pray later. I need to get myself together first. I don't feel right going to Him like this. You feel guilty. Guilt just takes over you. And I will say right now, guilt doesn't come from the Lord. Conviction comes from the Lord. Guilt does not. And there is a difference. And we're living like the door is still closed, but it is not. You are not earning your way back into God's presence. You already have access, even on your worst day. Now, David, this one is where it gets real because his situation wasn't pressure, it was choice. He saw something he wanted and he took it. Then he tried to cover it and then made it worse. And if we're honest, some of us have had those moments as well, where you knew and you did it anyway. And that's where shame really creeps in, because now it's not, I didn't know better. It's, I did know better. But here's what makes David different. And this is important. He didn't stay there. He didn't justify it. He didn't shift the blame. He owned it. And he broke. And he turned back to God. I can really relate to David on a lot of levels. It is not your mistake that keeps you stuck. It's refusing to turn back after it. Now let's connect this. Moses doubted who he was. Aaron gave into pressure. And David made a choice he knew was wrong. Different struggles, same truth. None of them were perfect, and God still used them. So what is it for you? Is it something someone said years ago that you're still believing? Is it a moment you wish you could go back and change? Is it a season you walked through that you are ashamed of? And because of that, you've quietly stepped back. Not from loving God, but from being used by Him. Friends, that's not how God works. You are not disqualified. You may need to heal. You may need to grow. You may need to repent and realign, but you are not disqualified. God has always used imperfect people. Always. The question is, will you keep sitting on the sidelines, or will you say yes? Friends, if this spoke to you, share it with another woman who needs to hear this. And I'll see you in the next episode. God bless.